Hello everyone, myself Sisir. I'm an automation architect for HP. So today in this particular session, I will walk you through with one of very interesting topic which is very boom in industry today, that is drive citizen automation at scale. So this is not a new word, citizen automation. This is the word which is introduced while we started journey with Studio X, one of the robust tool from UiPath. So in this particular session, I will show you in depth of about Studio X, what is it's bringing in as a skill set, what's the capability which is bringing in our citizen automation. So it's useful for a no-code citizen developer to automate as any task they want. So a lot of topic to cover today. So let me begin with one of interesting like to kickstart what exactly citizen automation and how Studio X is helping. Citizen automation is targeted for business user. When I say business user who are expert in their regular business day-to-day activity, but may not be experienced with technical stuff. When we say technical stuff, there might be skill with related to programming. They understand various tools, technology which is related to C#, Microsoft technology, Java, and all. So these topics are really create a roadblock for any citizen user who are champion in their business operation, but that create trouble where they think, how do I automate my small tasks? So now let's go for the next step to understand what all key attributes we have, like Studio X activities, and how this are bringing the capability of automating various task-based automation scenarios. Let's start with one by one. One is your Excel automation. So if you see this flow, as I said in the previous step, the way to develop your flow is or develop your workflow is just decide which application you want to automate first. Assume in this case, we have analyzed Excel is the process which we want to automate. So this is the property or activities section, and this is the development canvas. So as per the process, what we learned so far, in order to automate Excel, what I need to do is drag the Excel resource in the development canvas. So that's what you see. This is huge Excel file is the Excel resource and indicate the Excel file, and format cell is my action. The moment you drag that format cell within your Excel resource, that's the container, and that's where the resource and actions are combined, your Excel is working. And you see how easy it is. So you are performing the action of formatting with just drag and drop. As your Excel add-ins are installed, so UiPath can understand in real time which area you want to perform action in Excel, and that's where you see that UiPath Excel integrator is activated. So this is how it is bringing the environment to you, where you really no need to worry how to define a text within these text boxes. The moment you drag the area, it will bring the desired location or syntactical analysis, whichever needs to be done. So it will understand, the tool itself will understand and bring the text. So as an end user, you just need to focus on what is your exact problem statement is. Okay, so this is how the Excel works. Now, if you go to similarly the UI automation, the user interface, for example, this is a double UI application, it's a desktop application. If I want to automate on desktop, what you need to do is bring your bring your UI automation in interaction to the development canvas. So what you do here, you bring the use application or browser resource in the development canvas. After that, you start indicating which application you want to interact so that it creates that ecosystem or the container for that. Like Excel, here we are trying to indicate which application we want to automate. After that, you're performing the action. Here in this case, the action could be type text. So that's why the type into activity is dragged, where you are just dragging and controlling or indicating where exactly needs to type. So that's where it brings the capability of a UI next, where this selector identification happens. If you try to understand the selector, what is selector? It is nothing but a unique identifier on a screen. For example, I want to click on this manufacturing, right? So the manufacturing is my target. And in order to identify the manufacturing text box clearly, I need to identify or confirm or indicate some kind of relatives element. So that's why there is a property called identified as a target, and the second one is your anchor. So what you do, you're selecting what is my target, which is indicated with the green color, and supportive selector, that's the anchor you're identifying as the blue color. So once your target looks okay, there is a little widget which is available on the screen which says if your selector and target and anchor looks okay or not. So if this looks okay, then your robot is confirming you that now I can able to identify my target correctly. So you don't need to worry for what's the background technique, where to modify the code and all. This is just for advanced analysis, but this is UI next. We call this as UI next, which helps to identify where is my target, where is my anchor very collectively. So the UI automation works in a way that it has selectors or it has the target, and the target and anchor is a combination to say where exactly you want to perform and what type of action. Whether it is a type or a click or any type of UI action, you need to understand where is your target and what is the supportive anchor. Just one point you need to take into account: always find what is the correct selector. For example, you might be coming across a point which is very dynamic. So always find which should be the combination of selector and anchor which is unique in the screen. So that uniqueness will bring the selectors more robust, and you will see this is more accurate. But nothing to worry on the identification. The widgets are there to help you and indicate warning and error on the selection time. The next one is your Outlook automation. Like we see UI automation or Excel, this is the same concept. Bring your Outlook resource and then drag the respective action. So Outlook resource is nothing but indicating your default account. You can, if you have Outlook having multiple accounts, you can also choose from this drop down which Outlook you want to perform. And here in this case, I want to perform some for each action over my particular mailbox. So that's where the for each email is coming in. The bunch of Outlook actions are available like for each, forward email, send, receive, or let's say you want to save some email, save some email attachment. All these are part of Outlook automation. And similarly, we have a new component released as part of 20.10, which is a PowerPoint automation. So bunch of automation we do, which is related to PowerPoint, like let's say we are creating a slide, we're creating a template-driven certificates and all. Today also, I'm going to use a PowerPoint automation to show a demo how you create an event certificate distribution. So using PowerPoint automation, you can create PowerPoints, you can create PDF out of PowerPoints, and the PowerPoint can also be very small scale to complex as well. One of the complex scenario can be you're bringing a data table or a tabular structure into a PowerPoint and sending that to over email. So this is maybe complex, but once you define your templates, UiPath Studio X activities are there to bring this PowerPoint into your regular operation and add a lot of value to it. File automations is one more category where we generally here, if you see, there is no resource attached, but you want to perform a lot of file actions. The file could be of any time. Let's say Excel file, note, text file, CSV and all. So if this is saved inside a folder, so you can indicate the folder and iterate over file again and again and perform the desired action. The desired action can be copying a file, moving the file, performing reading the text from the file, zipping, unzipping, and all sort of activities. Okay, so after that, you have some more common activities. Let's say these activities are really helping you to build a logic. Whenever you see developing a flow or developing any automation, it's not only about drag and drop. You might also come across a scenario to define your conditional logic. You want to iterate over a process, like you want to do some loop or repeat a particular action again and again for number of all different rows, or you want to define some interaction to the human and bot together. So how do you design these workflows? That's where the common activities come into picture. One of very commonly used activities condition. Like we do a process, we need to use some conditional blocks. That's where this if condition is there, and we do have for each loop. We have switch condition, we have skip, save for later conditions, save for later variables are there. So all these activities also brought a built-in widget. For example, you want to design a conditional block, you really don't need to worry for how is the syntax should be. So once you bring this conditional block, you have a conditional builder. So if you select this conditional builder, it will, if you click on this plus icon, it will suggest which section you want to validate for what. Let's say in your Excel, one of the particular cell, there is a value you want to compare if that value is greater than 10 or not. So that's where this is indicating your Excel sheet 1 B6 column. You really don't need to type. As you see in the previous example, click on this plus symbol and it brings the Excel icon. And the moment you indicate on that cell, this text will automatically come. So once you indicate that, there are a bunch of options to perform, like greater than, less than, contains, and n number of conditions are defined, and define what value you want to compare for. Once this is done, you can define your what should be executed after the if condition is valid. If it is not valid, what the else condition is. So thus easy it is to design your workflow with this common activity. This brings the capability to make your automation robust in nature. So a quick recap what we have learned. So there are a bunch of activities which is coming as part of UiPath Studio X. One is your Word, UI automation, Excel, CSV, Outlook, file, common activities, and some more which is like SAP related activities or PowerPoint. So there are n number of activities that are coming as part of our Studio X, which is really helping to automate any sort of business operational task automation, whether it's a small scale notepad or an office, or you are interacting with a complex S for Fury, using this particular activity set, you will be able to automate almost every task what you are interacting day-to-day tasks. All right, so let's, as a next step, we'll see some common problem. As we see, there's how to install, what are different activities and actions. Some common problem you might face while you are interacting with the common issues. One is, let's say you're interacting with the office repair tool, right? So suppose there is a office application and it is not working. There is a possibility your office is not working. For those time, you can go and use this tool, which is the office repair tool, which will help you in your day-to-day operation to say, fix the office installation and then use the Excel add-in. So for example, sometime what happens, your office, if it is upgraded incorrectly, at that time, you have to, the UiPath Studio X may not work properly. So if you use this built-in tool given as part of your installer, so office repair will help you to fix that. So second is your Excel add-in. Sometimes if you see your Excel is not working, that is obvious reason Excel add-in is not there. So you go and install in the tool section. Same goes to your browser interaction as well. And there are a bunch of training available as part of your solution. Like there are UiPath Academy. You can go to UiPath Academy, subscribe to Citizen Automation, and then complete the training as needed. Let's do as a very next step to do a build a bot. So the use case what we will develop, as I was telling you, we'll create a certificate distribution bot. So as let's in this scenario, let's take today we are going with UiPath event, that's the development conference. Assume we come across a scenario where during as part of the UiPath conference and team need to send a certificate to all the participants. Whoever participated, they just need to send a certificate to all the participants. So generally what happened in this case, the Excel file having all name and email address, and the certificate template is designed for PowerPoint, and you need to create the PDF version of it and send it over email. If you imagine the problem statement, it's a pain for the event team to create one by one manually and send it over email. Let's say it's a participant or winner. So let's some event happen and there's some winner emails to send. It's a manual activity. It's a common scenario with any event and also a manual in nature. Using UiPath Studio X, we'll build a bot in next 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, and then we will see the bot in action. It will create the event and it will certificate and it will start distributing over email. So let's do that. All right. So to ease the process, what I've done, I've created a two template. One is, let's say I've saved all some of the email, like two rows I've created as part of the demo purpose, like two name, and I've given my mail ID only just to avoid any email flooding. And I've created a certificate template, which is that. So this certificate template is UiPath Dev Conference, and this is some text, and there is a text just we need to write. So let's to start the process, we'll go to UiPath Studio X, click on New Project. Let me give a meaningful name, certificate distribution bot. Okay, and then to give a justification for easy discovery purpose, I will also give description. So let me remove this underscore from description. These are all any meaningful name you can give. And once you click on create, it will start creating your project repository. So what is happening in background? It's creating a project file with the name what we have given, and also creating some default files. Let's say config Excel, and it's creating a main file. So it's all in this respective folder. While it's creating, it also adds some dependencies. All right, so our studio is getting built. All right, this is what we have learned so far. This is our activity sections and the development canvas and the properties. As I said in the example, we need to use Excel. So first I drag the Excel resource Now I'll indicate the Excel file, which I've saved in the desktop path. Let me go to desktop. And in the desktop, I will choose a file, and I have choose distribution file. And the reference is nothing but your meaningful name. So in order to refer that Excel file, we can give some meaningful name. So let me give a name called email master. And this is the name using which we'll start referring the Excel. That's the container we built. Now the next item I need to use, we need to iterate each row in the Excel, right? For that, I need to search what would be the right action. So for each Excel row is the right action where we want to iterate all each rows in that given Excel where we have saved the name and all. So what is the range it is asking? So if you see, I just indicated on the plus symbol saying this is the sheet 1, and we have a header. So after that, we have to do a PowerPoint. So let me drop the PowerPoint resource and indicate the PowerPoint template that I saved in the event certificate and the template. This is the same concept. Drag the resource, select the file, build your container, and set some properties. So here we don't need to save the change or create any new because this is just a template. So I just uncheck those property. And if you could recollect, what we need to do now is we need to type the text on the slide. So I add text to slide, I drag the activity. And this is the name you need to refer. So I just give a meaningful name as certificate template. And add text to change the presentation certificate template. Which slide? It is the slide 1. Only plus drag and drop, it will just suggest you everything on real time. And it's asking which text box there is in the certificate. There is a name text box is there as a template. And name is nothing but our current row, which is iterating. So we selected name. Now the next step would be to save the file. So save as PDF. So we'll select a save as PDF. Now to give a meaningful name in the PDF, so I'll click on this plus. The name is nothing but your, in the drop down, you can select as current row because current row carrying the name and email. So I'll select current row of name. Now this will save the file with name of the person who is part of the Excel, and it will save with the PDF format. Now after that is done, we will, as in next use case, what we'll do, we'll send this one to email, right? So this is our PowerPoint created. This is the for each row. Within that, we'll start sending email. So for sending email, we'll use a send email. But as you recollect what I said in the beginning, we need to use the resource first. So let me bring the resource within the range. So I brought that Outlook resource, and the default account is my only one account I'm using. So now I will bring send email activity within it, the action. Now there are certain property I'll start sending. So 2 is nothing but my current row of 2, that email address. Subject, we can give some default text here. So subject, you can also type it directly. We don't need to worry for any other syntactical problem. Start typing whatever it should look like. So I'll give certificate of participation. And in case of writing some body, you can also write some body. We can also make it a little dynamic as well. Let me show you. Hi, let's say I want to give a name. So click on this plus, and name is nothing but my current row and name, comma, and I can type the way I just want to format my email. So please find your certificate attached. Let's say give happy automation. So thank you, happy automation. All right. So remember, you need to attach the PDFs, which is nothing but your current name of PDFs. I selected the current name, which is my PDF name. But remember, the name is not with my PDF, right? So I need to dot PDF because that's the way my PDF are extended. Now, always uncheck this save as draft if you want to send the email. Now, if you see, my process is done. So this is send email. If I just show you on the top, this is my send email. This is the presentation. If you go up, you see this is the Excel which we started, and let's run and see. When I start the process, what it will do, it will start reading the Excel file. So the process is yet to start. Okay, it started just now. So it will now open the Excel file to read it. All right, so it's now reading the Excel file. I have given 2 names. Now the certificate template is designed. So it just print that and default set the name, and it will repeat the action. Like basically in background, it saved it in PDF, repeat the same action. Now it will, if the work is done. So you see how much time it took and how fast it executed. Let me show you the output. So this is the output where we open the file. This is in PDF. All right, so this is the PDF file converted from the template, and you see how quickly we designed this event distribution bot, and this help the event team to design it and send it to all the participants in just less than 5 minutes. We design it, and the execution is even more faster. So that's how this is really helping in terms of how we how easily we develop a complex business problems or task automation scenario in StudioX. Let's now understand a bit of more best practices, right? So as of now, I hope you understood what is StudioX, what are all different actions, building blocks attached, how easily you can automate. So in order to drive automation at scale, there are certain best practices we need to always take into account. So we will, in the next last step of this entire session, I will walk you through about certain best practices we can always refer in your day-to-day operation or activities. First of all, let's start with the personal workspace. This is nothing but once your development is done, let's say I created that event distribution bot. Now, how do I distribute that bot to my other user? Let's say I am the end user myself. I cannot open my StudioX every time to execute it. Yeah, it can be done, but it is not the right practice. It will still take some of my time. But to make it available to my fingertip, it needs to be available on the digital assistant. So digital assistant is the executor bot, where on demand you can just click on the play icon to start perform the action how it is recorded. Now, personal workspace is a dedicated workspace which is created as part of modern folder concept in Orchestrator. So once this personal workspace is allocated by your IT team, once the development is done, while you click on publish, you directly publish to personal workspace. The moment you click on publish to personal workspace, your digital assistant will have the development available for you to click and run. Until personal workspace there, this was always a problem. So you need to rely on some IT team. Being a technical, non-technical, no-code citizen user, I always need to go for IT process to move my package to production. With personal workspace, it is as a development team, this is a dedicated private environment available to citizen user where you can publish and make it play as and when you need. That's the one of the key whenever you are developing. In order to take the burden from your IT or operation robotic operation center, you need to take advantage of personal workspace. The second one is democratizing your citizen automation at a scale across enterprise. So in that scenario, you need to take advantage of one of the UiPath product that's called Automation Hub. So Automation Hub is one more offering from UiPath, a cloud offering, where it is enabling user to submit the automation ideas and drive automation from various idea to production phase with multiple personas involved. While you develop, there are certain more best practices which you need to refer to make your workflow more robust and also save some time of your development. Let's review few. One is while you're creating the automation, document your automation project. There are annotations, activities, there are comments, and a proper naming. This is important while you are documenting. So always give this documenting your project. The moment you drag any actions, activities, or resources, give a meaningful annotation to that, so that after suppose you develop a workflow today, but tomorrow if this needs to be referred by some other developer or enhance it further, it will be easy for them to refer what notes you are giving. There are certain built-in controls available as part of Analyze. So there is a workflow analyzer available within your development ID. If you click on that Analyze, it will analyze your code and then suggest if there is any potential errors or improvement needed. Your COE team can also introduce some rules or governance file through Orchestrator, and which will also take some additional controls or access. Like let's say your COE wants to maintain some coding standard that can further be loaded to Orchestrator and made it available directly to all the citizen user. So Analyze workflow will take that access and then analyze the rule remotely. But this is a very good control available within your development ID to make your code always a best practice followed and well structured and well designed to make it a scalable solution. There's some more options available to use which will help you to develop in your regular activities. Like let's say run to activity or run from activity, disable, enable, or comment it out and out. So while you're developing a solution, you might come across a problem of revisiting one step again and again just for troubleshooting purpose. One of the problem you might face every time you need to start your process from step one. That that takes a lot of time to during your development. To avoid that, you can take advantage of all these built-in activities, let's say built-in process, run to run from activity, disable comment, which will ignore all the steps which you really don't need and also saves time to develop your workflow faster. Few more best practices to refer. Always define your manual process clearly. So there is a concept called bot path. When you start enrolling to academy, there's dedicated course which explain about what is the difference between human path and bot path. The human part is nothing but your process, how it is Ajit's process looks like. And when you see the process from a bot perspective, there might be a little bit of difference. So design your bot file very clearly so you know what is how the flow works, how the different process works, where is your start point, what is the conditional block, where is the endpoint. So the doc manual process, once it is very clearly defined, you can automate your studio automation very easily and use some tools to easily on design your workflow much faster. There are certain recorder, like within Studio X, there are recorder. Some cases, let's say you forgot or you were not able to locate which is the right activity to use. Take advantage of the app and web recorder, which will perform a click level action on the screen and create a skeleton of your entire workflow. And there are common scenarios and all part of your ready to use automation. There are a lot of templates are part of project. So instead of recoding, always refer the project template and see how UiPath is already given some common scenario which can be used in your project as well. And there are certain right activities to be selected. So some cases you might think one use case can be resolved in many ways. For example, I want to send a email, so I can use a Outlook, or let's say I do a UI automation. I open the Outlook, perform a UI user interface automation like click, or take advantage of Outlook activity. So always remember to use the right activity to identify the right way. So do not land up in a situation to perform UI automation everywhere, but there are a lot of activities are part of your resources or actions. Bring those activity to a development ID. Let's say you want to send an email. Instead of searching a UI option, search the send email in the activity list. You really don't need to remember the activity while you're developing. The activity stack is very well designed in a generic search. You just type few character, few word in what is you're looking for. It will start suggesting you might be looking for that useful scenario. For example, I want to send an email. I just search for send. It suggests me you're sending an email. Or click, it will suggest you want to do these options. So you don't need to remember all these activities, but really search with certain keyword. It will suggest you what to do. The last one is descriptive name. Like you say, for example, when you drag in Excel, we need to give that Excel name. When you drag in PowerPoint, you need to give a meaningful name, where in the reference part, so that it can be referred in your project. Assume you interact with a multiple Excel or multiple PowerPoint in your project. If you don't give a meaningful name to your reference, it's hard for you in the long run to find which resource belongs to what. So that's where the meaningful descriptive name helps in your project to identify on the go, and also it gives a structure, well structured to your code as well. So always remember to give descriptive name to your references. All the actions, whenever you drag this activity in the development canvas, give a meaningful name to the activities on top. So all this can be modifiable, and you just give that name on the go. So few more on in terms of the best practice. Generate messages on unneeded. For example, you are developing automation. It needs to be two-way. It needs to track the log. One, assume a scenario while the bot is running, you want to do some kind of troubleshooting, understand what went wrong or how it executed. So the right line is certain activity available as part of your process. Once you drag this activity into your project, you will be able to see after the execution in the output panel what all execution happened and what is the respective actions being done. Assume you want to do a bot which is more towards human and bot interaction. You want to interact with the human while the bot is running. Take an example. Suppose there is a use case where captcha of the screen needs to be entered. Bot cannot automate a captcha, but that doesn't mean it is not a use case for automation. So for this scenario, what you need to do, bring a message box on your project, say enter the captcha manually and click OK button. So after the captcha is entered manually, the user can click on OK, the execution starts. So there are certain automation you will come across where human and bot can work together, and it's a very hybrid scenario and it add a lot of value to your business. So majority of the use cases where you design a flow where human and bot together. So you'll see this is really solving a lot of business problems. There are a bunch of use cases you can always think. For example, I can give one more use case as example, like say finance invoice processing, and you really don't know what could be the tax code. Rest all process are very structured. The tax code can be asked to user on the fly, like with a input dialog box from message box in UiPath Studio X, while the bot is designed to run all the steps on while it's executing. It's just asking the tax code, and the user enter the tax code as per the human decision, and then rest of the steps are automated. So there are certain use cases you can design in that way. On this list, and the last one is on protective sensitive information is very important when you see as a cybersecurity and internal audit perspective. So when you're designing, remember not to save any credential, neither even business constant as part of your project. You can keep the credential away, like it should be part of the process, like say you save in a credential vault, or user is responsible to enter in the target screen when it is required. You really don't need to save the password as part of your project. And never print credential as part of a write line just for debugging purpose, because remember, the moment you start use write line, the text also get pushed to orchestrator to different logs or in the system. So there is a possibility the data sensitivity will compromise. So always remember to take care about your sensitive data, not keep it in your project. And tomorrow, if you want to share the project to any other business, so those scenario, those business constant might be compromised. So design your workflow in a way that your code is just having the logic, but entire business data is outside of your project. That's the one of the key always need to take care while you're developing a flow. All right. So with that, I say thank you everyone for being with me, and I hope you enjoy the session.